The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES Indomitable. Captain Sarah Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the gentle blue glow of Valoran Prime through the main viewport. The planet turned slowly below them, its 3 moons casting silver light across oceans that sparkled like scattered diamonds. She had been on patrol near Valoran space for 2 years now, and every time she saw that blue world, she felt something warm in her chest. It was not just a planet. It was home to their closest friends in the galaxy. Sarah remembered the first time humans met the Valorans. She was just a lieutenant back then, 20 years ago. A human colony ship called the Meridian had suffered a catastrophic engine failure in deep space. They were drifting, dying slowly as life support failed. Then the Valorans found them. These tall, gentle beings with silver skin and large dark eyes brought the Meridian to safety. They shared their technology, their medicine, their food. They asked for nothing in return. When the human survivors asked why, the Valoran elder simply said that all life was precious. That moment changed everything. Humans and Valorans became allies, then friends, then something even deeper. The Valorans taught humans about advanced medicine and how to grow food in impossible places. Humans offered something the Valorans desperately needed but could never build themselves: military protection. The Valorans were peaceful by nature. They had no weapons, no warships, no soldiers. In a galaxy full of predators, they had survived through luck and hiding, until humanity found them. Now, human warships stood guard over Valoran worlds. Human marines trained on Valoran stations. Valoran children learned English while human kids studied Valoran philosophy. Sarah herself had a Valoran phrase tattooed on her wrist, Korath ne Valir, which meant, together, we stand. Her sister had gotten the same tattoo before she died during a pirate raid 5 years ago. The Valorans had mourned with her, held ceremonies, treated her sister's death as if she were one of their own. The communications officer interrupted her thoughts. Captain, incoming message from Valoran Central Command. Elder Moravax wishes to speak with you. Sarah smiled. Moravax was like a grandfather to her. Put him through. The view screen flickered and showed an elderly Valoran in traditional robes. His silver skin had faded to almost white with age, and his eyes held centuries of wisdom. Sarah, he said warmly. The Valorans always used first names with humans. They said ranks and titles created distance between friends. Elder, Sarah replied. Is everything well? Moravax's expression darkened. No, child. The Galactic Council has made new demands. They want access to our biotechnology. They say we must share it with all council members or face sanctions. Sarah felt ice in her stomach. The Galactic Council controlled most of the known galaxy. They were dominated by the Kralix Empire and their allies, species who believed that might made right. Earth had joined the Council 30 years ago, but humans never fit in well. They asked too many questions. They challenged unfair rules. And worst of all, they protected the Valorans, who the Council saw as weak and ripe for exploitation. What did you tell them? Sarah asked. We refused, Moravax said simply. Our medical technology could be weaponized. We will not give them tools to hurt others. We trust Earth to protect us, as you always have. Sarah wanted to say that everything would be fine. She wanted to promise that the Council would back down. But she saw something in Moravax's eyes that scared her. He was not worried. He was sad, like someone saying goodbye. Elder, we will not let anything happen to your people, Sarah said firmly. Earth stands with Valoran, always. Moravax smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. I know, dear child. But I fear dark days are coming. Promise me something. If the worst happens, do not let our memory die. Do not let them say we were nothing. Before Sarah could respond, the communication ended. She stood frozen, staring at the empty screen. Her first officer, Commander Park, stepped beside her. Captain, that sounded ominous. Send a priority message to Earth Command, Sarah ordered. Tell them the Council is pressuring the Valorans. Request additional ships for system defense. Over the next week, tension grew. Council warships began gathering near Valoran space. Admiral Marcus Reeves, commander of Earth's Third Fleet, arrived with 20 more vessels. Sarah met him on the flagship, the massive dreadnought Triumphant. Reeves was a hard man with gray hair and scars across his face. He had seen things that aged him beyond his years. "Captain Chen," he greeted her. "I reviewed your reports. The Council is making aggressive moves. They want the Valorans to surrender their technology," Sarah explained. "The Valorans refused. I think the Council might actually attack." Reeves nodded slowly. "The Council has been looking for an excuse to put us in our place. Humans have protected too many weak species. We make them look bad, but they will not attack while our fleet is here. They are bullies, but not stupid." Sarah wanted to believe him. For a few days, it seemed he was right. The Council ships kept their distance. Everything seemed calm. Then the distress call came. "Captain," the communications officer shouted. "Emergency signal from the Arcturus sector. Kralix rebels are attacking civilian transports. They are requesting immediate assistance." Sarah's blood ran cold. The Arcturus sector was 4 systems away. If they went to help, they would leave Valoran space undefended. "Verify the signal," she ordered. "Verified, Captain. It is coming from Earth merchant ships. They are under heavy fire." Admiral Reeves appeared on her screen. "All ships prepare to jump to Arcturus. We cannot ignore an attack on our civilians." Something felt wrong to Sarah. Her instincts screamed danger, but she could not refuse a direct order. "Understood, Admiral." Indomitable preparing to jump. As the human fleet activated their jump drives, Sarah took one last look at Valoran Prime. The blue world seemed to shine a little brighter in the darkness. Then the stars stretched into lines and they were gone. 8 hours away, the Council made their move. Ships decloaked around Valoran Prime like wolves surrounding wounded prey. They did not send warnings. They did not make demands. They simply opened fire. The Valorans had no chance. Their defense platforms were designed to stop pirates, not a full Council fleet. Cities burned. Evacuation ships were shot down as they tried to flee. Hospitals and schools became targets. The Council wanted to send a message and they wrote it in fire and blood. Sarah would not know for 8 more hours. 8 hours while her friends died. 8 hours while the galaxy changed forever. 8 hours before humanity learned that kindness could be answered with genocide, and peace could be met with massacre. The distress call was fake. Sarah realized it 30 minutes into their jump, when the communications officer reported that all signals from Arcturus had stopped. No battle sounds. No emergency beacons. Nothing but silence where there should have been chaos. She tried to contact Admiral Reeves, but he was already issuing new orders. "All ships emergency jump back to Valoran space. Maximum speed." "This is not a drill." Sarah's heart dropped into her stomach. "How long until we arrive?" The navigator's voice shook. 7 hours and 42 minutes at maximum burn, Captain. 7 hours. Sarah wanted to scream. They had been tricked, pulled away like fools while something terrible happened behind them. She gripped the arms of her command chair until her knuckles turned white. "Push the engines past safety limits." "I do not care if we burn them out. Get us there faster." The Indomitable shuddered as the drives exceeded their design capacity. Around them, the other human ships did the same. They raced through jump space like bullets, but it felt like crawling through mud. Every minute was torture. Sarah kept trying to contact Valoran Prime, no response. She tried the orbital stations. Silence. She tried Morovax's personal communicator. Nothing. Then, 4 hours into their desperate flight, a message came through. It was broken, corrupted, barely audible through the static. But Sarah heard enough. A Valoran voice, young and terrified, crying for help. The sound of weapons fire in the background screaming. Then the transmission cut off. "Captain, I am picking up multiple emergency beacons from Valoran space," the communications officer said, tears running down his face. "Hundreds of them." "No, thousands. They are all distress calls." Sarah closed her eyes. She had failed them. They trusted Earth to protect them, and she had left them defenseless. "Keep monitoring. Record everything. We will need evidence." The evidence came in fragments over the next 3 hours. Automated systems on Valoran satellites captured everything before they were destroyed. Sarah forced herself to watch. She owed the Valorans that much. She needed to see what had happened. Council warships had appeared without warning. Dozens of them, maybe more. They surrounded Valoran Prime like a noose. The Valorans tried to surrender immediately. They broadcast on all channels that they would comply with any demands. The Council ignored them. Orbital bombardment began within minutes. Sarah watched cities burn. She saw evacuation ships leaving the spaceports filled with children and elderly Valorans. Council fighters hunted them down one by one. Not a single evacuation ship escaped. She saw hospitals marked with medical symbols blown apart. She saw schools collapse. She saw the Valorans' great library, which held 10,000 years of their history and culture, reduced to ash in seconds. The Valorans did not fight back. They could not. They ran, they hid, they pleaded. It made no difference. The Council was systematic, thorough. They divided the planet into sectors and cleansed each one with fire. When the Valorans tried to hide in underground shelters, the Council used bunker-buster weapons. When they fled to the forest, the Council burned the forests. When they tried to swim to the remote islands, the Council boiled the oceans. 4 hours. That was how long it took for the Council to kill 4.2 billion Valorans. 4 hours to destroy a civilization that had existed for millennia. 4 hours to prove that in the galaxy, peace meant nothing and kindness was weakness. When the human fleet finally emerged from jump space near Valoran Prime, there was nothing left to save. The blue world Sarah loved was gray now, covered in ash and smoke. The oceans were choked with debris. The 3 silver moons looked down on a graveyard. Wreckage filled the orbital space, pieces of Valoran ships, pieces of Valoran stations, pieces of Valoran lives. Sarah stood on her bridge in absolute silence. Her crew stared at the screens in horror. Some were crying. Some were vomiting. Some just stood frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. This was not war. This was extermination. Life signs? Sarah asked quietly. The science officer worked his console with shaking hands.
Scanning, Captain.
Detecting scattered survivors. Maybe a few 100,000. Most are badly injured. They are scattered across the planet in small groups hiding in the ruins. Hundreds of thousands from billions. Sarah felt something break inside her. Deploy all rescue shuttles. Medical teams to stand by. Bring every survivor up to the fleet. Admiral Reeves appeared on the main screen. His face looked carved from stone. Captain Chen, I am taking my flagship down to the surface. I need to see this myself. You have command of rescue operations. For the next 12 hours, human ships worked desperately to save what little remained. Marines searched through burning cities. Medical teams treated wounds that should have been fatal. Engineers pulled survivors from collapsed buildings. Everyone worked until they collapsed from exhaustion, then got up and worked more. Sarah went down to the planet herself. She needed to see it with her own eyes. The landing shuttle touched down in what used to be the capital city of Valorix. It had been beautiful once, with towers that reached toward the sky and gardens that bloomed year-round. Now it was a crater. Nothing remained but rubble and bodies. She walked through the ruins with her security team. They found a school. The walls had partially collapsed, but Sarah could still see the children's artwork on what remained. Pictures drawn by young Valorans showing humans and Valorans holding hands under a yellow sun. Pictures of peace and friendship. She knelt beside a small body, no bigger than a human 5-year-old. The child was still clutching a stuffed toy, a toy made on Earth, a gift from the cultural exchange program. Sarah heard a sound, crying. She followed it to a partially collapsed building that might have been an apartment complex. Her security team moved debris carefully. Inside, they found a Valoran child, perhaps 6 or 7 in human years. The girl was trapped under a fallen beam, badly hurt. Her silver skin was covered in ash and blood, but she was alive. It is okay, Sarah said softly, kneeling beside the child. We are here. You are safe now. The girl looked up at her with eyes that had seen too much. My family? She whispered in broken English. Sarah looked around. She saw 3 adult bodies nearby. She looked back at the child and shook her head gently. The girl started crying again. Sarah carefully lifted the beam with help from her team. A medic rushed forward to treat the injuries. As they prepared to move her to the shuttle, the girl clutched Sarah's hand. I am Kelris, she whispered. Please do not leave me alone. I will not, Sarah promised. Never. They brought Kelris to the Indomitable along with thousands of other survivors. The human ships were overcrowded, filled far beyond their capacity. Nobody cared. Every Valoran life was precious. They would make room somehow. Admiral Reeves called an emergency conference with all ship captains. His face appeared on Sarah's screen along with dozens of other officers. Behind Reeves, Sarah could see Valoran Prime burning through the viewport. The Admiral spoke in a voice that could have frozen stars. The Galactic Council has issued a statement. They claim the Valorans were developing biological weapons. They say this was a police action to prevent a threat to galactic security. They have provided evidence to support their claims. Evidence? Sarah felt rage boiling in her chest. We have recordings. The Valorans tried to surrender. The Council murdered them. I know, Reeves said quietly. I have reviewed everything. The Council's evidence is fabricated, poorly fabricated. They are not even trying to hide it well, because they do not think it matters. They believe we will accept it because challenging them means war. Then we go to war, Sarah said flatly. Other captains murmured agreement. Reeves held up his hand for silence. I have already transmitted all evidence to Earth Command. I have also transmitted a formal declaration. Effective immediately, Earth is withdrawing from the Galactic Council. We are also issuing an ultimatum. Every species and individual involved in this massacre will face justice. If the Council does not surrender those responsible, we will take them. They will never agree, another captain said. They have a fleet 10 times our size. Reeves smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Only ice and iron. Then we will teach them why humanity survived every war, every plague, every disaster our world threw at us for thousands of years. We do not survive because we are the strongest. We survive because we are the most stubborn, because we never ever stop. He looked directly at the camera and Sarah felt like he was looking into her soul. They wanted to send a message by destroying the Valorans. They wanted to show us that protecting the weak has consequences. Well, we will send a message back. And our message will be written in fire across their empire. This will not stand. Humanity is going to war. Earth did not rush into battle. That surprised the Galactic Council. They expected humans to react with emotion, to attack immediately with rage blinding their judgment. Instead, humanity went silent. Ships withdrew to human space. Communication ceased. Embassies closed. For 3 weeks, it was as if humanity had disappeared from the galaxy. But they had not disappeared. They were preparing. Sarah stood in the briefing room of Earth Station Alpha, high orbit above humanity's homeworld. Through the massive windows, she could see hundreds of ships moving in formation. New ships. Ships that should not exist. When she left for Valoran space 3 weeks ago, the orbital dockyards had been empty. Now they were filled with vessels unlike anything she had seen before. Admiral Reeves stood at the head of the briefing table. Around him sat 50 captains, including Sarah. Behind them, holographic displays showed the full might of what humanity had built in secret. Reeves activated the central display. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Protocol Omega. When Earth joined the Galactic Council 30 years ago, we were not naive. We knew the galaxy was dangerous. We knew that one day we might need to stand alone. So we prepared. He gestured to the display. Everything you are about to see has been classified above top secret. It has been in development for 25 years. The Council thought they knew our strength. They were very wrong. The display showed a ship that looked like a nightmare-given form. It was massive, 3 times the size of the Indomitable. Its hull was black and covered in strange geometric patterns. This is the Ragnarok-class dreadnought. We built them in secret shipyards beyond Neptune. The Council's intelligence never knew they existed, because the Council never believed we would hide things in our own system. They thought we were too open, too honest. Reeves's smile was cold. We let them think that. We have 12 of these ready for deployment, with 8 more completing construction. Sarah stared at the design. What makes them special? They are designed for one purpose, to kill ships bigger than themselves. Their main weapon is a dark matter projector we call a Ghostfire cannon. It fires concentrated particles that phase through standard energy shields as if they are not there. When the particles hit solid matter, they become solid again and release all their energy at once. Another captain raised his hand. What about fighters? Capital ships are useless without proper screening. Reeves changed the display. A sleek fighter appeared, smaller than standard interceptors but covered in advanced technology. The Valkyrie-class Space Superiority Fighter. Single pilot, AI-assisted targeting and navigation. Quantum entanglement communication means no lag, no jamming. They can coordinate attacks across light seconds instantly. We have 4,000 of them ready. He continued through the presentation. stealth frigates that could disappear from sensors, missile cruisers with warheads that could crack planets, marine assault ships designed to board and capture enemy vessels, electronic warfare platforms that could take control of enemy systems. Humanity had built an entire fleet designed to fight an enemy with superior numbers. Our strategy is simple, Reeves explained. We will not attack the Council's homeworlds. We will not target civilians. We will systematically dismantle their military infrastructure. Every ship that participated in the Valoran Massacre is on our list. Every commander who gave orders. Every politician who approved it. They will face justice. Sarah felt a cold satisfaction. When do we begin? 48 hours. But first we need intelligence. Reeves looked around the room. The Thalaxian Confederacy and Urathi Collective have made contact. They were horrified by what happened to the Valorans. They are offering covert support, safe harbors, supply bases, and most importantly, intelligence on Council fleet movements. Another captain frowned. Why would they help us? They are Council members. Because they are afraid, Reeves said quietly. If the Council could do this to the Valorans, peaceful beings who never hurt anyone, what stops them from doing it to any species that becomes inconvenient? The Council showed everyone their true face. Many species are quietly preparing to distance themselves. Some are willing to help us as long as it stays secret. Over the next 2 days, Sarah prepared her ship and crew. The Indomitable had been refitted with new weapons, new shields, new engines. It was twice as dangerous as before. She walked through the corridors, seeing her crew training with an intensity she had never witnessed. Everyone had seen the recordings from Valoran Prime. Everyone knew someone who died. This was personal for every human in the fleet. She visited the medical bay where Valoran survivors were being cared for. Kelris, the child she had rescued, was sitting up in bed. The girl's physical injuries had healed with human medicine, but Sarah saw the emptiness in her eyes. She had seen her entire world die. Hello, Kelris, Sarah said gently, sitting beside the bed. The girl looked at her. Hello, Sarah, are you leaving again? Yes, but I promise I will come back. And when I do, the people who hurt you will have paid for what they did. Kelris was quiet for a moment. My mother used to say that violence only creates more violence. She said the way to peace was through understanding. Sarah felt her throat tighten. Your mother was wise. She was right about most things. But sometimes peace is only possible when evil people know there are consequences for their actions. The Council thought they could destroy your people without any punishment. We are going to prove them wrong. Will you hurt innocent people, like they hurt us? No, Sarah said firmly. We will only target those who made this happen. Their military, their leaders. Not their children. Not their civilians. We are not like them. Kelris nodded slowly. She reached under her pillow and pulled out the stuffed toy she had been holding when Sarah found her. This is called a bear, yes? It is from Earth. Yes. Someone gave that to you during the exchange program. I want to keep it, to remember that there are good people in the galaxy. That not everyone is cruel. Kelris looked up at Sarah with those large dark eyes. Promise me you will not become cruel. Promise you will still be good people when this is over. Sarah took the girl's small hand in hers. I promise. We will never forget why we are fighting. We fight so that what happened to you never happens to anyone else. The day of departure arrived. Sarah stood on her bridge as the fleet assembled. 847 warships. It was the largest human military force ever gathered. Admiral Reeves' voice came over the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Reeves. Today we begin a campaign that will change the galaxy forever. The Council believes they can act without consequences. They believe that might makes right, and that the weak exist only to serve the strong. We are going to teach them differently. He paused. Every ship in this fleet carries a list. On that list are the names of 4,200,000,000 Valorans who were murdered. Remember those names. Remember why we are here. We do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for glory. We fight for justice. We fight so that genocide has a price. We fight so that the next time someone thinks about destroying a peaceful species, they remember what happened when they touched humanity's friends. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. Around her, the bridge crew sat at their stations with grim determination on their faces. These were not just soldiers anymore. They were instruments of vengeance. First target is Korthak Station, Reeves continued. It was the staging ground for the attack on Valoran Prime. Intelligence confirms that Admiral Kthros, the Kralix commander who ordered the massacre, is currently there with his fleet. We will jump in 3 waves. First wave will emerge at maximum weapons range and engage. Second wave will flank. Third wave will cut off retreat. Rules of engagement. Any ship that surrenders will be captured for trial. Any ship that fights will be destroyed. Any ship that tries to flee will be pursued. There will be no escape. Today we send a message to the galaxy. This will not stand. The fleet began to move. One by one, ships activated their jump drives. Space rippled and tore as they departed. Sarah watched her tactical display as hundreds of ships disappeared, heading toward their target. Then it was the Indomitable's turn. All hands, prepare for jump, she announced. When we arrive, we will be going into combat immediately. Check your stations. Lock down all non-essential systems. This is what we trained for. This is what we built for. Today we make the Council regret what they did. The jump drive activated. Stars stretched into lines. The universe twisted around them. In the moment between departure and arrival, Sarah thought about Morovax. She hoped his spirit could see what was about to happen. She hoped he knew that his people would be avenged. Then they emerged from jump space and Korthak Station filled the view screen. The battle began. The Kralix fleet at Korthak Station detected the human ships the moment they emerged from jump space. Alarms screamed across every council vessel as sensors registered the massive force appearing at the system's edge. Admiral Cathras sat in his command chair aboard the battleship Dominant Claw, watching the tactical display with growing concern. 300 human warships had just materialized in perfect attack formation. All ships, battle stations, Cathras ordered. Raise shields and charge weapons. Send a message to those human fools. Tell them they are violating council space and will be destroyed if they do not retreat immediately. His communications officer looked nervous. Admiral, they are not responding to hails. They are accelerating toward us at maximum speed. Their weapons are already charged. Cathras felt the first touch of fear. The humans should have been hesitant, careful. Instead, they were attacking like predators who had cornered wounded prey. How many ships do they have? 300 in the first wave, sir. Sensors are detecting 2 more waves arriving behind them. 800 ships total. 800. Cathras had 140 ships at the station. The numbers were bad, but the Council fleet was composed of heavier vessels with superior firepower. They could win this. They had to win this. Target their lead ships. Prepare to fire on my command. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Sarah watched the Kralix fleet scrambling to form a defensive line. They were good, she had to admit. Their formation was textbook perfect. But textbooks were written based on conventional weapons. The Ghostfire cannons were anything but conventional. All ships, you are weapons free on my mark. Admiral Reeves's voice came over the tactical channel. Remember, we are here for one reason. That station and the fleet protecting it are responsible for 4 billion deaths. No mercy, no hesitation, mark. The human fleet opened fire. The Ragnarok-class dreadnought Retribution led the charge. Its main Ghostfire cannon fired, and the effect was terrifying. A beam of pure darkness shot across space, passing through the Kralix fleet's shields as if they were not there. When it hit the Dominant Claw's hull, the ship simply came apart. Metal vaporized. Compartments exploded. The massive battleship broke into pieces in seconds. Admiral Cathras died without understanding what had killed him. Sarah targeted a Kralix cruiser with her ship's conventional weapons. Fire all forward batteries. The Indomitable's guns spoke. Plasma bolts and railgun rounds crossed the distance in heartbeats. The Kralix ship's shields held for exactly 2 seconds before they collapsed under the barrage. Then the real damage began. The cruiser tried to turn away, but Sarah's gunners were too good. They targeted the engines, the weapons, the command deck. Methodical, professional, lethal. Enemy cruiser disabled. Her tactical officer reported. Life support is failing. They are trying to abandon ship. Let them, Sarah ordered. Mark that ship for capture. Move to the next target. Around her, the battle unfolded with brutal efficiency. Human fighters swarmed through the Kralix formation like angry insects. The Valkyrie-class ships were impossibly fast and agile. Their pilots were enhanced by AI systems that predicted enemy movements before they happened. Kralix point defense guns tried to track them and failed. One by one, Kralix ships lost their sensors, their communications, their weapons. The second wave of human ships arrived and flanked the Kralix fleet. The third wave cut off any escape routes. The Kralix tried to fight back, but it was useless. Their weapons could not penetrate the new human shields. Their tactics were anticipated and countered. Their commanders were outmatched. 37 minutes after the battle began, Korthak Station sent a surrender signal. Sarah checked her tactical display. Of the 140 Kralix ships, 93 were destroyed. The remaining 47 had surrendered. Human casualties: 2 ships damaged, 0 destroyed, 37 personnel wounded, 0 killed. Admiral Reeves's voice came over the fleet channel. All ships cease fire. Begin search and rescue operations. I want every survivor from those Kralix ships brought to the brig. They will face trial for war crimes. He paused. And send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them this is payment for the first 1,000,000 Valorans. We have 4,200,000,000 more to answer for. This is only the beginning. The message was broadcast across all channels, civilian and military. Every species in the galaxy heard it. Humanity had just destroyed a major Kralix fleet base in less than an hour. The message was clear. Earth was not asking for justice. Earth was taking it. Over the next 6 months, humanity prosecuted a campaign unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. Sarah's ship was at the forefront of every major engagement. She earned a new name among the Council forces, the Angel of Wrath. Her ship appeared from nowhere, struck with precision and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The Battle of Threnix Nebula became legendary. The Kralix assembled a trap with superior numbers, waiting in the dense clouds of gas and radiation that made sensors useless. 300 Kralix ships against 100 human vessels. The Council commanders thought they had finally cornered the human fleet. Sarah saw through the trap immediately. The Kralix had hidden well, but they made one mistake. They assumed humans could not see through the nebula. They did not know about the quantum entanglement sensors humanity had developed. Sarah could see every ship perfectly. All ships execute pattern Delta 9, she ordered calmly. The human fleet split into 3 groups. One group engaged the Kralix front line, drawing their attention. The second group circled around, using the nebula's radiation to mask their movements. The third group, led by the Retribution, dove directly into the densest part of the nebula where sensors could not reach. The Kralix thought they were winning. They focused all their firepower on the human ships in front of them. Then the Retribution emerged from the nebula's core, appearing point-blank beside the Kralix command carrier. At that range, there was no time to react. The Ghostfire cannon fired. The command carrier exploded so violently that 3 nearby ships were destroyed by the debris. Without their command structure, the Kralix formation fell apart. Sarah's ships cut through them like a blade. The battle was over in an hour. 200 Kralix ships destroyed. Human losses, 3 ships damaged, but humanity's campaign was not just about destruction. Sarah made sure her crews understood the difference between justice and revenge. When a Kralix colony world fell into their hands, Sarah had the firepower to glass the entire planet. Her weapons officer asked for permission. The crew waited. Then Kelris's voice came over the intercom. The Valoran girl had insisted on staying with Sarah's ship. She had become a symbol to the crew, a reminder of why they fought. Captain Sarah, Kelris said quietly, there are children on that planet. Children like me. They did not choose this war. Sarah looked at the planet on her view screen. She thought about how easy it would be to press the button, to make the Council feel the same pain they had inflicted. But she remembered her promise to Kelris. She had promised to remain good people. Tactical, target-only military installations, Sarah ordered. Helm, prepare rescue shuttles. We are evacuating civilian population centers before we strike. No one dies who does not need to. Her weapons officer looked confused. Captain, they did not show that mercy to the Valorans. No, Sarah agreed. They did not. That is why we are better than them. That is why we will win, not because we have better weapons, but because we have better souls. The crew complied. They evacuated civilians and struck only military targets. The galaxy watched in amazement. Humanity was prosecuting total war, but they were holding to their principles. They did not target non-combatants. They did not torture prisoners. They did not commit atrocities. Every action was brutal but fair, overwhelming but just. Species that had stayed neutral began to quietly support humanity. Supply convoys appeared in human space with no explanation. Intelligence reports were leaked about Council fleet movements. Pirates who had worked for the Council suddenly found themselves hunted by their former allies. The Galactic Council tried to rally support, but fear had replaced loyalty. The smaller species remembered what happened to the Valorans. They realized the Council would not protect them. They realized that humanity would. The list grew shorter. Admiral Cathros, dead in the first battle. General Vraxis, killed during a boarding action when he refused to surrender. Counselor Throck captured and sent to Earth for trial. Governor Malash found dead by his own hand rather than face human justice. One by one, the names were crossed off. After 6 months, the Kralix Empire was in ruins. Their fleet was reduced to scattered remnants. Their economy was destroyed. Their government was in chaos. Other council members began withdrawing their support, afraid they would be next. The Galactic Council sent a delegation to negotiate peace. Admiral Reeves met them in neutral space on a station controlled by the Thalaxian Confederacy. Sarah attended as a witness. The council delegates looked beaten, tired, afraid. "We seek an end to hostilities," the lead delegate said. "Surely enough blood has been spilled. Let us find a compromise." Reeves stared at them with eyes like ice. "Compromise? You want to compromise? Where was compromise when the Valorans tried to surrender? Where was mercy when your ships hunted down evacuation vessels full of children? That was a regrettable incident." "That was genocide," Reeves interrupted. "You killed 4 billion innocent beings to send a message. Well, we have sent a response. Here are our terms. Unconditional surrender. Every individual involved in the massacre will be turned over to stand trial. The Galactic Council will be dissolved. A new governing body will be established, one with actual accountability and oversight. These are not negotiations. These are the terms of your surrender." The delegates looked horrified. "You cannot dissolve the council. Who will maintain order in the galaxy?" "We will," Sarah said quietly. All eyes turned to her. "Humanity and every species that wants a voice in their own future. A true democracy, not a tyranny pretending to be one. And if we refuse?" Admiral Reeves smiled, but his eyes remained cold. "Then in 6 more months, the Kralix Empire will be a memory. After that, we will visit every council world that supported the massacre. We will keep going until you surrender, or until there is nothing left to surrender. We have shown remarkable restraint so far. We have targeted only military assets and those directly responsible. Do not make us expand our definition of acceptable targets." The delegates left to consult with their governments. 3 days later, they returned with a response. The Galactic Council accepted the terms. The war was over. Humanity had won. The trials lasted for 3 years. They were held on a neutral station built specifically for this purpose, orbiting a small moon halfway between Earth and the former Kralix homeworld. Representatives from every major species attended. The proceedings were broadcast across the galaxy, translated into 400 languages. Sarah testified on the first day. She stood before the tribunal and played the recordings from Valoran Prime. She made everyone watch. Some delegates tried to look away. Sarah's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "Watch it," she commanded. "Every second, every death. This is what the council authorized. This is what they tried to justify as a police action. Watch those children die. Watch those hospitals burn. Watch an entire civilization erased in 4 hours. And then tell me that anyone involved deserves mercy." The tribunal watched. Many wept openly. When the recordings ended, the chamber sat in absolute silence. The chief judge, a Thalaxian with gray scales and ancient eyes, spoke quietly. "We have seen enough. Let the proceedings continue." Over the following months, individuals were brought before the tribunal. Ship captains who had fired on evacuation vessels, admirals who had given the orders, politicians who had approved the operation. Some tried to claim they were following orders. Some tried to justify their actions. Some begged for forgiveness. The tribunal showed the same mercy the council had shown the Valorans, which is to say they followed the law exactly. Those who were guilty of war crimes were found guilty. Those who could prove they had tried to refuse or minimize harm were given lighter sentences. The law was applied fairly, even if the results were harsh, but humanity also prosecuted its own. 3 human officers who had executed Kralix prisoners without trial were court-martialed. 2 were found guilty and sentenced to prison. This shocked the galaxy. Humans were holding their own people accountable, even after everything the council had done. Admiral Reeves explained it during a press conference. "Justice is not selective. If we only apply the law to our enemies, then it is not law, it is revenge. We are better than that. We must be better than that, or we become the very thing we fought against." Meanwhile, the work of rebuilding began. The Galactic Council was officially dissolved. In its place, the Federation Charter was established. Every member species had equal representation, regardless of size or military power. Decisions required majority vote, with protections for minority rights. Most importantly, the new Federation had actual enforcement mechanisms. A species could not simply ignore the rules without consequences. Not every species joined immediately. Some, like what remained of the Kralix, were too proud or too bitter. They withdrew into their own space and refused contact. Humanity let them go. The Federation would not force membership, but neither would it tolerate aggression. Protective fleets patrolled the borders, but they did not invade. Sarah returned to Valoran Prime. The planet was still wounded, but life was returning. With help from Earth and the other Federation members, the Valorans were rebuilding. New cities rose from the ashes. Forests were replanted. The oceans, once choked with debris, were slowly healing. Kelris had grown into a young woman now. She walked beside Sarah through the Memorial Gardens, a massive park built at the site where the capital city had once stood. Every Valoran who died had their name carved into black stone pillars, 4,200,000,000 names. The pillars stretched for kilometers in every direction. "I come here every day," Kelris said quietly. "I read the names. I want to remember them all. But there are so many." Sarah put a hand on the young woman's shoulder. "You do not have to remember them all. Just remember that they mattered, that they were loved, that their deaths meant something because we made sure they meant something." They walked to the center of the memorial. A massive statue stood there, carved from a single piece of marble that had survived the bombardment. It showed a human and a Valoran standing together, hands joined, looking toward the sky. The inscription was written in both languages. Never again, never forgotten, never forgiven. Kelris touched the statue's base. "My mother used to say that forgiveness was the path to peace. I struggle with that. How can I forgive what was done?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I do not think forgiveness means forgetting or excusing. I think it means not letting hatred consume your life. The people who did this have faced justice. The system that allowed it has been dismantled. You do not have to forgive them, but you also do not have to carry rage forever. You can just live. That is the best revenge against those who tried to erase your species. You survived, your people survived, you are rebuilding. That is victory." Young Valorans played in the gardens nearby, children who had been born after the massacre. They laughed and chased each other around the memorial pillars, treating them like just another part of the landscape. They would grow up learning about what happened, but they would not be defined by it. They were the future. Sarah watched them play and felt something heavy lift from her chest. She had carried guilt for 3 years. Guilt for being lured away. Guilt for not protecting them. Guilt for every second that passed while the massacre happened. But watching those children play, she finally understood. She could not change the past. She could only shape the future. Admiral Reeves had retired from military service. He now served as the first Supreme Commander of the Federation Defense Force, a position that was more diplomatic than military. His job was to ensure that the new fleet served all member species equally, and that it never became a tool for oppression. Sarah visited him in his office on Federation Station Alpha. The station orbited Earth, a symbol of humanity's commitment to the new order. Reeves looked older now, more tired, but also more at peace. "I have been reviewing applications for the Defense Force," he told her. "We have volunteers from 70 different species, even a few Kralix who want to prove they are not like their former government. I am accepting them. The Federation needs to be bigger than old grudges." "Do you think it will work?" Sarah asked. "Can we really create a galaxy where something like Valoran Prime never happens again?" Reeves leaned back in his chair. "I do not know, but I know we have to try. The alternative is to accept that might makes right, and that the weak exist only to be exploited. I cannot accept that. Humanity cannot accept that. So we build something better and we defend it with everything we have." Sarah left his office and returned to her ship. The Indomitable had been retired from military service and converted into a mobile embassy. Sarah was now Ambassador Chen, representing Earth in diplomatic missions across the Federation. It was strange going from warrior to diplomat, but she found she was good at it. She understood both sides, the need for security and the need for compassion. 20 years passed. The galaxy changed slowly but steadily. The Federation grew to include over 200 member species. Trade flourished. Culture was exchanged freely. There were still conflicts, still problems, still species that rejected the new order. But they were manageable. They were not genocides. Sarah grew old. Her hair turned gray, then white. Her body accumulated the aches and pains of a life lived hard, but she kept working, kept serving, kept building the future that 4 billion Valorans had died for. On the anniversary of the massacre, she always returned to Valoran Prime. It had become tradition. Survivors would gather at the memorial. They would read names. They would remember. Sarah would attend, often as the only human present. The Valorans always welcomed her, called her friend, called her family. This particular anniversary, the 40th since the massacre, was special. Kelris was now a leader of her people, a voice in the Federation Council. She had married and had children. Her oldest daughter, named Moravax after the elder who had died in the first hours of the attack, was graduating from the Federation Academy. She would be joining the Defense Force as a medical officer. Kelris stood beside Sarah as the sun set over the memorial gardens. The 3 moons of Valoran Prime rose in the darkening sky, casting silver light across the endless rows of names. "Thank you," Kelris said simply. Sarah looked at her. "For what?" "For keeping your promise. For not leaving me alone. For making sure my people's deaths meant something. For building something better." Kelris took Sarah's hand. "For being our friend even when it cost you everything." Sarah felt tears on her cheeks. "It cost us nothing compared to what you lost." "Perhaps. But you gave us your rage, your blood, your years. You gave us justice when you could have just mourned and moved on. That is everything." They stood in silence as the stars came out. Above them, warships orbited peacefully. Human vessels alongside Valoran, Thalaxian, Urathi, and dozens of others. A fleet that protected everyone equally. A fleet that existed to prevent tragedy, not cause it. Sarah thought about the girl she had found in the ruins 40 years ago. The terrified child clutching a stuffed bear. She looked at the woman beside her now. Strong, wise, healing, but not healed. Kelris would carry scars forever, as would all Valoran survivors. But they were living. They were thriving. They had not let darkness win. As they walked back through the gardens, Kelris's daughter ran up to them. Young Moravax wore the uniform of a Federation cadet, her silver skin gleaming in the moonlight. She was excited, full of energy, full of hope. "Grandmother, Ambassador Chen. Come quickly! They are about to release the memory lanterns." They followed her to an open field where thousands of Valorans had gathered. Each held a small lantern made of paper and light. This was a new tradition, started by the younger generation. Instead of only mourning the dead, they also celebrated the living. Each lantern carried a wish for the future. As darkness fell completely, the lanterns were released. They rose into the sky like a river of stars carrying wishes and hopes and dreams. 4,200,000,000 candles for the dead, and countless more for the living. Sarah watched them rise and thought about her sister, about Moravax, about all the Valorans who had trusted humanity and died for it, but also about all the beings who lived because humanity had refused to accept their deaths as meaningless. "Do you think they would be proud?" Kelris asked quietly. "The ones we lost. Do you think they would approve of what we built?" Sarah watched the lanterns drift higher, joining the stars. "I think they would be amazed. Not at the vengeance or the justice, but at this. At you standing here with your daughter. At Valorans and humans working together to build something that will last. At a galaxy that learned, finally, that strength is not about domination but about protection." The lanterns continued to rise. In the distance, Sarah could hear children laughing, could see families walking together in the gardens, could feel the pulse of a civilization that had been broken but not destroyed. That had been knocked down but had risen again. She had spent 40 years making sure the massacre was answered, making sure justice was served, making sure the galaxy changed. And now finally she could let go. The work would continue without her. The Federation would endure. The Valorans would thrive. As they walked back through the memorial, Sarah paused at the central statue. She placed her hand on the marble, feeling the names carved beneath her palm. "Never again," she whispered. Kelris placed her hand beside Sarah's. Never forgotten. Young Moravax, who had only known peace, completed the phrase. Never forgiven, but also never alone. Above them, the Federation fleet continued its eternal watch, silent guardians in the darkness, a promise carved in steel and will, that genocide would always have a price. That peace was worth fighting for. That humanity would never, ever stop protecting those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy had learned a simple truth. When humanity said they would stand with you, they meant it. When humanity said they would protect you, they meant it. And when humanity said that an atrocity would not stand, they meant that too. The Galactic Council had tried to teach humanity a lesson about power. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson about loyalty, justice, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship. And the galaxy would never forget.